Okay, so let's dive right in. Have you ever had that feeling? Like life's just kind of happening at you.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you're just caught up in stuff, circumstances, and it feels, well, totally out of your hands.
Yeah, that feeling of being swept along is pretty common, I think. That the
Yeah.
world outside is running the show and you're just reacting.
Right, exactly. But what if that whole idea is, well, kind of backwards? What if, and this is the really provocative idea from the source material we're digging into today, what if the reality you're experiencing isn't actually happening to you? What if it's actually, in some way, emitting from you?
Wow. Okay. That's a big flip from external force to internal source.
It is, and that's what we want to unpack today. That's the mission for this deep dive. Getting into that core concept, starting with the absolute foundation the source lays out. It calls it the subject. And all this comes from an article series on the Mystical Abundance blog. It's called The Conscious Guide to Manifesting Your Reality from the Inside Out. We're focusing just on part 1 today, which is all about the subject.
Got it. And this first article, it sets the stage, doesn't it? It talks about three essential elements: the subject, the object, and the state.
Exactly.
And the source says that really getting the difference between these three, that's key to understanding how interpretation, maybe even reality itself, works.
Totally. So for today, we're zeroing in on just that first one, the subject. So how does this blog post actually define it?
Well, it presents the subject as essentially who you really are, the conscious observer.
The observer.
Yeah, it uses that phrase, the I in I am. It's talking about pure awareness. That quiet presence inside that just knows, I am aware. And the source is clear. This I, this subject, it's beyond your identity, your job title, your problems.
Beyond the circumstances.
Right. Beyond all that stuff, it's the awareness itself, the consciousness that's just there.
So it's like the silent witness behind everything else. The part of you that watches your thoughts, your feelings.
Exactly. It's the watcher that's experiencing the observation itself. Both the inner world, thoughts, emotions, all that, and the outer world, like what's physically happening around you.
Okay, and this is where that distinction the article makes is really crucial, isn't it? As the subject, you're witnessing all this stuff, thoughts, feelings, life conditions, and you see them in relation to your past, your beliefs, what you expect for the future.
You're aware of them, you experience them, yes.
But, and this is the point the source hammers home, you are not those things you're observing. The thought isn't you. The feeling isn't you.
You're the awareness of the thought, the awareness of the feeling. You are not the object being observed.
Okay. The article brings in a metaphor here that I found really helpful. It's vivid. It says, think of your life, well, not as you, but like a movie.
Ah, yeah, the movie playing on the screen of consciousness.
Exactly. You're not the character, caught up in the plot twists and the drama.
Right. You're not lost in the scene.
No, you're the one in the seat of consciousness. Aware. Just watching it all play out. The scenes, the feelings, the highs, the lows, they're all happening on the screen. They pass by.
But they aren't fundamentally you.
They aren't you. You're the one who sees the screen, sees the movie.
And the source adds another layer there, too. It mentions that the whole experience, the movie itself, might be colored or even, directed by the state you're currently in.
Okay.
But crucially, it emphasizes you are still not that state either. You are the awareness that is aware of being in that state.
So even the state is something observed.
Yes. And that distinction, that awareness of the state, means you don't have to get automatically sucked into the story, entangled in whatever drama is playing out on screen.
Okay, this is where it starts looping back to that first idea, that provocative hook about reality emitting from you.
Mm-hmm.
The source seems to suggest that when you learn to consciously, just rest in that seat of awareness, being aware that you are aware, watching your consciousness observe your life.
Something fundamental starts to shift. The movie itself starts responding to you, the observer.
Right, that's a really critical point it makes. It's not just about watching passively. The implication is that from this observer perspective, you actually gain some influence, maybe. Well, it doesn't spell out the whole mechanism in part 1, but it strongly suggests the link. Your state, which you are observing from that seat of awareness, seems to play a huge role in what actually shows up on the screen. By being the awareness of the state, you change your relationship to that state, and maybe, therefore, your relationship to the reality it seems to project or attract. It's about shifting how you relate to your inner world.
So it's not like the character suddenly grabs the steering wheel of the plot.
No, not quite like that.
It's more that the watcher's state of being, the observer's internal condition, is somehow connected, intrinsically linked to what scenes appear.
That seems to be the direction it's pointing. And by consciously returning to that seat of awareness, the Mystical Abundance blog says that's where you find peace, clarity. You realize your power wasn't in wrestling with the characters or trying to rewrite the script directly.
But in reclaiming your position as the conscious observer.
Right. Becoming aware that you are the one experiencing the experience rather than just being lost in it as the experience itself.
Yeah, and that awareness gives you the ability to stay emotionally present, but without getting tangled up in, say, the chaos or the challenges playing out on the screen.
So that's the key difference then, being totally immersed like an actor who forgets they're acting.
Often the role, yeah.
Versus being consciously aware of the experience itself, like the director watching the monitor or just the person in the cinema seat watching the film.
Exactly, that distinction. And the source argues that returning to that seat, embodying the subject, that's what frees you from that feeling we started with, being tossed around by things outside your control.
Because you're aware that you are aware of the situation or the feeling.
Which stops you from instantly becoming it, identifying as it.
Right. And the article points out this shift doesn't need anything outside of you to change first. It's an inside job.
Entirely. It begins within, just by practicing being that conscious observer.
And from that place, it suggests you start to reclaim a sense of agency. You engage with life differently from peace, from clarity.
Instead of just reactive turmoil, yeah.
So what's the practical application here? How do you actually do this?
Well, the suggestion in this first part is actually pretty simple. Almost deceptively so. Just take some time to simply observe your experience, whatever's happening inside and out, without judging it and without getting attached to it. Just notice, see what reveals itself when you look from that more detached place, the observer seat.
Okay, so let's bring this back to you listening right now. Think about those questions the source implicitly raises. How might simply returning to this seat of awareness, this observer perspective, how might that change the way you respond to a challenge you're facing? Or just uncertainty in your day?
Yeah, and what could possibly open up for you if you stopped identifying quite so strongly with the character, with the story playing out on your screen?
If you really just rested in being the witness. And here's that final, really provocative thought from the source material we wanted to leave you with. How might your current state of being be silently governing the reality you're encountering right now?
Oof, that's one to sit with. Really makes you think about the connection between inner state and outer experience.
Definitely. And remember, these powerful ideas, this whole framework we started exploring today, it all comes from the Mystical Abundance blog. You can find the specific article, The Conscious Guide to Manifesting Your Reality from the Inside Out, Part 1. The subject, plus a lot more, over at mysticalabundance.blogspot.com.
That's mysticalabundance.blogspot.com.
That's mysticalabundance.blogspot.com. And they're also on social media at mysticalabundance1111. We definitely encourage you to check out the blog, read the article yourself, maybe even try that simple practice the expert mentioned, just observing your experience for a bit today.
See what you notice from that seat of consciousness.
And hey, if this deep dive sparked something for you, or if you know someone who's maybe feeling caught in that whirlwind we talked about,
share it with them. Maybe they're ready to explore this perspective too.
Absolutely. Consider sharing it.
Well, until our next deep dive. Lots to ponder there.
For sure. Thanks for digging into this with me.